Okay, so for my lesson on expository writing, we would begin to hook the students with the mentor text, which is Snakes by Simon Seymour. Um, After we're done reading the mentor text, I would give a lesson via PowerPoint, which would look something like this. We read this book, Snakes, today because it's a great example of a style of writing called the expository style of writing. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So to begin with a little introduction, if you will please direct your attention to the PowerPoint and please take notes. Expository comes from the word expose. Can anyone tell me what the word expose means? That's right, the word expose means to show, to reveal, to uncover, things in that vein. And that's the goal of expository writing, is to uncover information or to provide information on a subject. Expository writing is nonfiction. Expository writing is not meant to persuade the reader in one way or another. The purpose of expository writing is to explain information. Can anyone think of an example of a type of writing that explains something? I'm thinking of something that maybe you have in your desk or in your book bag that you read all the time, and that's right, your textbook. The textbook is a great example of an expository style called description writing. Description is one of the 5 types of expository writing called expository text structures. The others include sequence writing, comparison writing, cause and effect, and problem and solution. Description writing, first up, is writing that does exactly what it says. It describes something. It lists characteristics and examples of the subject. It provides general information on a subject. Snakes is a good example. Newspapers are another good example, and as we mentioned, textbooks are a great example as well. Most textbooks, that is. Next up, there's sequence writing. Sequence writing is writing that lists items or events in numerical or chronological order. I'm sure you're all very familiar with this sort of writing, as it's the style of writing the most directions and instructions are in, but it can also be used to organize and recount things in greater detail. This one example, or explain things more thoroughly and recount them with more detail. One example of this is the book Whaling Season. Whaling Season, a year in the life of an Arctic whale scientist. You'll be able to recognize this style through its use of words like first, second, next, finally, and the like. Next we come to comparison writing. This style of writing is exactly what it sounds like. It is a style of writing that compares 2 or more things to discover, to reveal why they are, the ways in which they're similar and the ways in which they're different. A great example of this is the book Dogs and Cats by Steve Jenkins. Keywords here and phrases to look for: on the other hand, alike, by comparison, in contrast. These words will help alert you to the style. Cause and effect is the next style that we're going to look at. Cause and effect, again, is exactly what it sounds like. It explains a cause or causes, and then it explains the resultant effects. And you could use this style, for example, if you were trying to explain the causes of the Civil War, or the causes, what causes it to get cold during winter, things like that. A good example of this is the book called Tracking Trash. In this book, the author explains the impact that human garbage is having on the world's oceans. Common buzzwords for this style include things like the reason why, then, as a result, and of course, because. Problem and solution is the final text structure we're going to look at here. In this style, the author describes a problem and then explains possible solutions. An example of this would be the book How to Survive in Antarctica. Obviously, the problem here is that surviving there would be very difficult. One common variation within this style is question and answer style, in which the author poses a question and then answers the question throughout the writing. Um, Pardon me. For one example for this style would be the book Which Way to the West? Everything your school books didn't teach you about America's westward expansion. Words here to look for are pretty straightforward. So the problem is, the puzzle is, things of that nature. And in the modeling portion. So after the PowerPoint, I would then have these examples that I listed during the PowerPoint, and we would actually go through them, and I would read some of the language, and discuss how the language works within the structure, so that they would be able to identify whether they were looking at cause and effect or problem and solution, things of that nature, hopefully. And then talk about that for a while, and then when that was done, we would play a game, trying to incorporate the lessons that we just learned. So for the game the night before, I would, or sometime before, I would fill out index cards with different words or phrases. So I could use like titles of books. I could use just say like newspaper. I could use for like cause and effect, I could say the colonists revolted because of taxes. That could just be one sentence on a card. And then I would split the students up in half, and the two students at a time, so one from either team, would go to the front. I would, by the way, have written on the board so that they could see and reference during the game the 5 structure types. And I would send one representative from each team to the front of the class, and they would each have a buzzer like this buzzer here, and I would read from the card whatever the card said, and the first player to buzz in would have the opportunity to tell me what the structure type is that I'm referencing. If they were wrong, then the other person would have a chance, and so on and so forth, until at least everyone has gotten to go once, and then we'll see how long from there. And at the end, we'll count up the number of correct cards for either side and declare a winner. And that would end the game portion, and then after that I could do a number of different things. I could have a minute essay, but I think what we would do to actually just wrap things up would be a discussion in which we would go through the cards as a class, and really discuss how they fit in, and comparing them and their phrases and their wording to the mentor text that I had brought in and the examples. So things of that nature would wrap up that assignment, and that lesson. So that's all. End of lesson. Thank you.